when I graduated in 2012, there are two big things happening to me. The first job ever and a new boyfriend. They have something actually similar. They both started so nice. Over the good moments and dreams about great futures with success and happiness. And then funny enough, they also have similar progress a few months later. Jobs get tougher and relationship went sour. I was not happy. And I didn't know what to do. I started to have two questions in my head. The first one is, should I quit a job that I no longer feel fulfilled with? And should I end a relationship that I no longer feel happy with? Yeah, so those two questions and a few hundred buts. Like this. But it's gonna look bad on my CV if I end a job too fast. But how can I make sure that I get a new job? But it's quite convenient anyhow to be in a relationship. And many more, as you can imagine. So, any of you here, have you ever felt in your life or moments like that? That you feel maybe you have similar, maybe you have different story but similar feelings. You feel confused, you're worried and scared. You doubted yourself and you don't know what decision to make. And your mind just filled with all of the bad scenario about the futures, and you simply just feel so hopeless. Yeah? Thank you. I see many of you, I'm not the only one. Yeah, so we all have those moments, right? It's impossible for us to have similar situations like that and not feel these feelings. But you also ever wonder that, what are these bad feelings are doing to us? And how can we navigate our emotion every day, including these negative ones, so that we still be able to achieve our goal, fulfill our dreams, and live a happy life? And this is something I want to talk to you about today. That fear is actually the root cause of our feelings, of our bad feelings, and that we can actually transform our fears to get our life back in control. So back to my earlier story, I finally had the courage to quit the job and end the relationship and moving forward to a more exciting career and embrace my single life. I met so many great, new, cool people in a new company that later become my friends, and learned so many different things in such a short amount of time. Finally, I feel like I've become happier and more successful. My life feels great again. And then I wanted to do something even bigger, something even greater. And I thought to myself, oh yeah, what could be cooler than, build your own products and have your own company? And then I took the leap to start my own startup without actually knowing how hard it could be. Apart from my core knowledge about fashion and e-commerce, I did not know how to make it happen. I didn't know how to do coding. I didn't know how to do fundraising. Let alone, I didn't know how to interview and hire people, or build a team, or launch a product to market. And the more I get into this, the more I feel like this is so challenging. And the more I feel like I'm not good enough. And I was in fear. This is when we already have 3 team members in the company. We had some initial investment into the startup. We have a working prototype, and I actually still have a full-time job, which is no longer exciting me. Every day, I have questions. How can I scale this up to a real business? And of course, also face many other buts. Just like in my story a few years ago that I shared earlier. No solution really found. And the bad feelings start growing inside me even more. And my great life no longer feeling the same. And then one day, I actually received a sudden phone call from a friend of mine. She rang me like this. Hey Zean, where are you? You're not responding to my text. And you're no longer on social media. What's happening? Are you okay? So this is probably the result of me being inside my emotional bubble and crying over my startup baby and thinking that it's going to die. And and then for some reason, I broke down and exposed my vulnerability to her. I said, actually, I think I'm not okay. And then Claire was so kind. Like, she rushed over to my home, sit down and listen to me. She actually couldn't solve any problem that I have immediately, but she shared her empathy by sitting out and listened actively to my sharing. And then she asked me questions. You know, Zean, you don't need to do everything by yourself. Why don't you ask someone who's done that before and ask for help? And then it turned out to be such an aha moment for me. I was like, oh yeah, I should, yeah. Then I turned to her. So, do you know anyone? Or do you know anyone who know anyone? And then to my surprise, Claire actually gave me some names who turned out to be her friends, who have another friend, who knows someone who was actually a mobile developer. And this person became my first engineer. And I also remember that I have some friends who recently got into the startup scenes and become entrepreneurs. So I reached out to one of them, asking for advice. And he also gave me more names. And not just names of people who know other people, but also names of books, names of articles, names of communities that led me to an ocean of knowledge and connection that was so beneficial for me to find a solution for my problem. And the after effect of this whole process is that I realized the more information I knew, the calmer I felt. And the more positive energies I have, the more productive work I've done. And then I progressed since then, until today, that I built a tech and fashion company, leading a team of more than 30 people, mostly engineers, coming from 10 different time zones and serving a user base of a few 100,000 users. And I knew something was working. So since that event, I started to read and research a lot more into emotional management, neuroscience, and human psychology. And I have learned something so fascinating. As humans, feeling sad, feeling worried, feeling stressed simply means feeling in fear. And we are in fear simply because this is how our brain is sending a signal to us whenever we're in a situation that our subconscious mind is not familiar with. And for me, it would be when I started to do my startup and didn't know how to do. And the mind is telling and screaming like this to us, literally like this. Oh my God, what are you telling me to do? This is not done before. This is not in my memory database. This could be dangerous. This is not safe. Back off. Yeah, scream like that. But notice this. This is not in my memory database. And this is the exact reason. We're in fear simply because our subconscious mind is not familiar with a new environment. Or when we meet new people, or when we do new things. And it is very natural for us, for our body, for millions of years, to reacting to potential threats, simply just to protect ourselves. And it's also very normal for us back then, when we were still living in cave and going out hunting in the wild. But in our today's world, that mechanism might not benefit us anymore. It is in this, limiting ourselves. But the good news I have learned here is that in order to put our body to a stage of calmness and beat the fears and start achieving, there are 3 ways we can do. Firstly, uncertainty leads to fears. Reverse that. Remember, uncertainty equals threats. It's just like when you walk into a dark room, right? You naturally feel scared because you don't know if is any dangerous thing would jump up to you. So what do? You try to find a way to turn off the light. You try to get back your vision so you would know where to go. In real life, your vision is data points. So try to acquire more facts, more knowledge, more information, and give plan to the problem at hand. The more information you know, the more your subconscious mind would feel like this is not a dark room anymore, and your fear will be weakened. Secondly, visualize the best outcome. Many researchers have done that. The subconscious mind could not distinguish between a real event that already happened or an imagined vision. Both ways are sending the same neural effect to our brains. So this is how we can hack our mind. By giving out the best desired outcomes in your imaginations, so that it can work with your body to make you feel calmer and create positive feelings. So for example, before I got up on stage, I kind of worried, I feel a bit shaking. And I needed to give myself an imagination of me standing here, giving a really good speech, successfully to the crowd. And that vision got in my mind, and my mind believes it. And it instantly made me feel calmer, and I gained back my confidence. And lastly, replace your unhealthy thoughts, beliefs about yourself with better ones. The truth is that we often compare ourselves with other people and forgot that actually we're just different person and we have different talents. I could be good at something and my friend could be good at something else as well. But it doesn't mean that I'm better than them or they're better than me as a person. So choosing to think that we're not good enough, making us feel bad, and is holding us back. And the solution here is that whenever you have an unhealthy belief about yourself, replace that with a kinder one. If you think you're young, you're too young, or you inexperienced, or you're not smart, or you're not good, you're not confident, replace that immediately. Speak it out loud like this, literally like this. I'm young, but I have a lot of energy to give. I'm inexperienced, but I have a lot more to learn. I'm not smart compared to some, but I'm smarter every day. I'm not good, but I'm learning from my mistakes. I'm not confident, but I believe that I can work on this to be better. And we should always remind ourselves that the only person that you should compare yourself to is the person you was yesterday. So since then, I started to use these tactics to help many people, friends and family, including my brother sitting in the audience today, in his journey of beating his fear, getting out of his comfort zone, getting a scholarship, and moving to Singapore. And I plan to do this even more in the future. 2 weeks from now, I'll be speaking to 150 disadvantaged students in Ho Chi Minh City to share with them my knowledge about how to beat our fears to be more patient and believing in ourselves. And I hope that my personal story could be a living proof to motivate them. So, I guess we're quite similar age in this room today. Yeah? Who you here in your 20s, 30s or 40s or a bit more? And do you know that actually humans' life expectancy as of today could be up to 80 years old? And that would mean we probably have another like 50 years to live. Do you think that's a lot of time? Think about that again, because there are a few facts about time. Time is always passing. As I'm standing here talking to you, time is passing every single second. And next, we cannot get time back. If this minute is gone, it's gone. You cannot take it back. And I wish there were way in futures, but right now we can't. And lastly, we do not know how much time we have. You might sit there and think, you have a lot of time, but nothing can guarantee that. Things keep changing. A minute and hours later, something might happen to us, and we might face the risk that we're not here anymore. So what are you waiting for? Do you want to sit here and waste time and waste our precious life that we're so grateful to be here? Or should we start become kinder to ourselves, accept our insecurity, and do whatever it takes to create the best emotions and create the best positive feeling to beat our fears and do it anyway? Would you say yes? Yes. Thank you.